Hello and welcome to another video here at Hobbies and Happiness. My name's Dan.
And I'm Jim. Today we're going to lift some weights.
We are going to lift some weights on a budget. That's right. We are finally bringing some more deck techs to the channel. I'm excited. Now, right now is a really weird time because we are getting ready. Ravensburger's getting ready to release set number 3 into the Inklands, and to be honest with you, I'm very excited. Are you excited about this?
Yes.
We were just going over some cards, and
Super
man,
cool.
we can't wait to sit down and go through all the cards for the set review. I'm looking forward to that. Jim, are you looking forward to that?
A little.
Just a little bit. Yeah. So, but before we get into it, hey, thanks for being here. Do you enjoy Disney Lorcana and Disney Lorcana content? Do us a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn on bell notifications so you can be notified when we release more Disney Lorcana content like this in the future. Also, again, we don't have any on today, but if you want to pick up some sweet Hobbies and Happiness merch, check the link down in the description below to be redirected to our merch store. We got some pretty sweet swag. It's basically shirts and sweatshirts and stuff like that. We need to get more stuff in there.
Get some dice.
Get some dice, some
card
playmats.
sleeves.
There's plenty of stuff. We got ideas, but if you want to support the channel, that's going to be the best way, one of the best ways to do that, by sporting your Hobbies and Happiness merch. Check the link down in the description. All right, so again, like we mentioned, it's a weird time because we're getting ready for set number 3 into the Inklands. But one thing that we've been wanting to do is build decks. I love building decks. Jim, do you like building decks?
No.
No, not
I
really.
like to pilot.
You like to pilot?
All right, it's really fun. I ain't gonna
Building
lie.
decks is a lot of fun. And one thing that I've been on a kick is building budget decks.
Yeah.
Okay? Building cheap decks. Because one of the
He sent me about 150 of them in the last week.
Correct. So I've been building a lot of decks. And, you know, we've been having this casual and competitive conversation and debate. And I know, especially in the Lorcana community, there's a lot of folks who have been playing a more casual Disney Lorcana, and that's great. Well, I kind of wanted to build some decks to help kind of feed that subtype, that subgroup of folks within the community, myself included. Because again, you know, I feel like anytime I see anybody playing Ruby, you're going to find Be Prepared, Maleficent Monstrous Dragon, Lady Tremaine, Imperious Queen. It's all the same cards, and they're pretty expensive. It seems like the cheapest card is like $10, and then you look at Maleficent and she's like $35 or something like that. They're expensive. Maybe you don't have all those cards, but you do have a lot of the commons and uncommons and the cheap cards. Well, so that's kind of what inspired a lot of these, and this is the first deck. All right, so I'm just gonna stop talking. Let's get into this deck. All right. So the entire idea was the card weight set. All right. So let's go ahead and look at the deck list right here. So this is Ruby Steel budget weight set. Card built around the card weight set. It's an item, and basically whenever you play a character that that has 4 strength or more, you can pay 1 ink to draw a card. So we've got a lot of characters in here with strength 4 or more, so we can draw cards. We've got some cool removal. We got a nice suite of removal in here as well. But again, it was really just, I love value. Jim knows I love value. I'm all about the value, and I love drawing cards. So that was the genesis around this entire deck. So without any further ado, I just want to get into it. Let's talk about the cards. We're going to go over prices, kind of the ideas behind these cards, and then yeah, at the end, we'll get your opinion. We'll let you know. We'll ask you what you think. So you ready to get into this deck?
Yes.
All right, let's get into it. All right, so since this is kind of the first deck profile that we're going over, I'm going to give you a quick rundown on how this is going to go. We're going to talk about every single card, how many copies, and we're going to look at the current price. Okay, thing to keep in mind if you're unfamiliar with buying cards on the secondary market, number one, highly recommend go to tcgplayer.com. That's going to be where you can find the best prices, and you can help support other LGSs around the country. Or if you have an LGS, you can go support them directly. But these prices are pulled directly from TCG Player, and they were current at the time of recording. So be mindful, because these prices fluctuate pretty much every single day.
That's a secondary market.
That is a secondary market. So we wanted to put the prices of the cards on here. That way you can get an idea of kind of where they're at when we recorded the video. All right. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So the entire genesis, the build around of this deck is Weight Set. So Weight Set, an inkable 3-cost item, again in steel. It's a rare card and has the ability Training. Whenever you play a character with 4 strength or more, you can pay 1 to draw a card. Only 21 cents, so it's a pretty cheap card. Jim, curiously, when you saw this card, what did you think when you really saw this card?
So when I first heard of it, I was kind of like, wait, did he say strength, or did you say cost of the card, for how much you needed to pay for it? And I was like, no. If it's strength, that can be so much better.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're now able to get a board presence along with replenishing the cards in your hand, it makes this card really strong. And going into the future, when we get more cards that have that 4 strength, the card's just going to get better.
Which is a lot. And
this is a lot of value.
And there already is a lot in there, and we'll get into that in a second. But one thing that I want to mention, this deck really does function around this card. So it's vital. It's vital you want to get this out as early as you possibly can. I've mulliganed very hard. I always mulligan very hard to find this card. It's this, and then maybe one other card that has one other character that has 4 strength or more. But it's very vital because it is the linchpin of the deck. But again, you just get so much value. I have found that if I have 2 of these on board, I am perfect. I'm perfectly fine with inking the others. But again, and it's vital to get that out, and I know sometimes you don't, so we do have some other things built into the deck, which we'll get into. But again, we see that strength 4 or more, so let's talk about the characters that are going to trigger. The first off is Gaston. What's great about Gaston, he's only a 2-drop. So it's an inkable 2-drop, 4/2/0 with Reckless. Only 10 cents, so super cheap. We're only running 2 of them, but this is a card that's very cheap to get out. And again, you're paying 3 for a 4/2 body and drawing a card if Weight Set's on board. So I really like Gaston in this slot. And again, pairs very well. Let's talk about this next one. It's Lilo, Galactic Hero. So Jim, you've seen this card a lot.
Yep.
And I know we've kind of we never thought very highly of Lilo, but she's a 4/2/2, so it's that 2 lore that's huge. But she's an inkable 3-drop, only 6 cents. Of course, we're running 4 copies because the thing with Lilo is it's that 2 lore. And especially when we're talking about budget style lists, it's the more lore. You want more lore on the characters because they're going to be more threatening to your opponent, right? And so I don't want to say taking back seat, but with that 2 lore, it gets made up for with the 2 strength. So, yeah, what do you think about Lilo, especially in a deck like this?
Oh yeah, 100% she has to be in the deck. And there's not too many cards in the list that are going to be having that double lore or even 3 lore. So she's going to be able to close the game relatively quickly.
Right.
And having that 4 strength, it's kind of threatening to your opponent. It's like, okay, well, what can I sacrifice to get rid of it?
Right.
But it's like, it's more than just sacrifice, because now I've also drawn a card off of it already.
Right.
So now I'm going to be up a whole card in comparison to yourself.
Right.
So it really messes with your opponent's mind, but they can't just leave it out there.
Right.
Because it's going to end the game.
It can end the game. All right, so it is a vanilla, right? So it's pretty boring and boring, right? But again, I do feel like all the vanillas in this game, they're a little bit more than vanilla, but they're really not, right? When you understand what vanilla is and just stats in general, they really are just vanilla. So we've got a couple other vanillas here. The next one is Baloo, Fun Loving Bear, another inkable 3-drop. He is a 4/3/1 vanilla, only 5 cents. We're only running 3 because, again, They're just vanillas. They're really in the deck just to proc weight set, right? And so it's a body on board. This one not as threatening as Lilo because it's only one lore.
Yep.
So we've got Baloo, and then we also have Prince Naveen. Prince Naveen, Penniless Royal, for same exact stat line as Baloo. It's the same card. This one, it was 4 cents at the time of recording. All right. But again, they're really in the deck to help develop a board presence and hopefully draw you cards. Right. So speaking of vanillas, the best vanilla in the deck, in my opinion, is Stitch Abomination. I love Stitch Abomination. This is probably one of my favorite cards in set 1. I love the artwork, the stat line. He's a 4/6/3. 4/6/3 vanilla, inkable 6-drop. We're only running 3 copies. But again, in the deck to 1, threaten to close out the game, and again, trigger and proc weight set to draw more cards.
You know, when we were playing games either weeks ago or months ago, and you would drop this card, I'm like, this thing is such a pain to get rid of. 6 toughness. Yeah. I'm losing so much value.
Yep.
But sometimes you just have to give like that 2 or even 3 to 1 ratio to get rid of something, just to establish a board presence again and bring it back to your speed.
Right.
Because you don't want them to be winning with 3 lore every single turn.
100%. My favorite thing about this card is it's only a quarter. It's only a quarter, right? And so I love the state that the secondary market is in, because you can get some really cool cards. And seriously, guys, if you don't have these cards, just pick them up, add them to your collection. And again, I feel like all of these game pieces, they're just really great Disney collectibles, if you ask me. I love it. So I'm perfectly fine with buying extras and just having them in a box for a collection. It's great. And I just love looking at this card. This is just one of those that I absolutely love. All right, so let's move from this 6-drop to another 6-drop. So this is Hercules, Divine Hero. Inkable 6 cost, 6/3/2 with Shift 4 and Resist +2. So introduced in this current set, Rise of the Floodborn, the Resist mechanic. This is great. So the only thing I do not like about this card is the 3 willpower. It's the only thing I don't like. But as Jim and I have talked about before, does have Resist 2, which is phenomenal. So when you get this down, more likely than not, you're just questing, and you're forcing your opponent to answer. So same thing with Stitch, right? So Hercules, a great option on the top end that hopefully is going to stick around for a few turns, right? Because I think my thing is with Resist, the Resist mechanic. Hopefully your opponent just looks at the willpower and is like, oh, it's only 3. I'm going to not worry about it, and then you profit from that, right?
You know what I really like about this card, and it's secretly OP?
What's that?
Overpowered. Is you think about some other cards in red that have Rush and Reckless. A very popular one, Maui.
Yes.
And if Maui swings into this thing, he's also gone.
Yes.
This guy is...
That's a 1-for-1.
Yeah, it's instantly a 1-for-1. But there's so many ways that Maui, again, is just super overpowered in the game and can just take out anything. But Hercules counteracts him. It's like, go right ahead, take him out.
Because a lot of the times with Maui, and we'll talk about Maui here in a bit, but with Maui, you drop him and he's going to take out multiple cards. Right? Sure, he has Reckless, he can't quest, but you're using him to take out multiple cards. If I can 1-for-1 a Maui, I am so happy. I am stoked for that, right? So we're running 4 copies of Hercules Divine Hero, only 82 cents right now. A great time to pick it up if you don't have any in your collection. And again, goes perfectly well with the theme, with the weight set, because again, it's the same theme, right? It's the Hercules theme. So I had to include Hercules in this deck. So we are, of course, since we're running the shiftable Hercules, right? We are running little baby Hercules Hero in training, inkable, 2-drop, 2/3/1, another vanilla. Really just running him for that shift target for big Hercules. But my favorite thing about this card is the flavor text. No need to call IXII. I love that part in the movie. If you've seen the movie, it's Pain and Panic are pretending to be kids stuck in a canyon to get him trapped so the Hydra can come take him out. And then call XII. I remember I watched that movie recently, and I was dying laughing because it had been a while since I'd seen it, and then I'm like, I totally forgot about that line. It's great. It's hilarious.
I need to watch it again.
Yeah,
that was one of my favorites.
So again, a relatively boring card because again, it's a vanilla, only 6 cents. So we're running 3 in the deck. All right, the last character we want to talk about, who we're going to trigger weight set, we talked about him already, but it's Maui. I didn't want to run a lot in here because this is the most expensive card in the deck. We're talking about budget, right? At the time of recording this, Maui was $5.77 on TCG Player. Only running 2. Again, so if you ran a full play set, that's $20.
If you have a full play set, play him.
Yeah.
He is just a rare. It's very likely you could have more.
It's a great card. Now, this also could be a stand-in for Mulan, Hero in Training. Mulan is an uninkable 4-cost 4/3/1 with Rush, I believe. Don't quote me on it. I don't have it in my notes here. But that's one that, again, it's cheap, comparatively speaking, to Maui, and would bring this cost down about $10 at least. So we're talking about budget decks. I try to limit the cards that I'm putting in these decks to be less than $5. If I have one that's hovering around it, I try to just keep it like one card and only a couple copies. So that helps keep the price way down. But Maui's just too good. Like we just talked about it. He's an inkable 5-cost 6/5/0 with Rush and Reckless. It's just too good. Now the only thing. And I think I would really like having Mulan in this list as well because it's one less. It's one less. So
and it speeds up your game plan.
It does. It does, right? Because again, you can drop Mulan on turn 5 and pay the 1 to draw. But if you wanted to draw off Maui, you'd have to wait till turn 6. Yeah. Pay the 5 and then the 1 off the weight set to play him and then draw a card. Yeah. Right? Because I'm always like, I want to draw cards. I want to draw cards. And in these colors especially, you have limited options, right? And so you want to abuse that weight set as much as possible. All right, so that's the characters we want to talk about. Now let's touch on some options that can help you protect or control the board outside of characters. That first one is Shield of Virtue. Probably one of the best one-drops in Ruby.
Good.
In my opinion. Shield of Virtue, an inkable 1 cost. You can pay 3 and exert this card to then ready chosen character they can't quest for the rest of the turn. Versatile, right? Because you can use this to either challenge again or just restand and protect your stuff. Yep. What's your favorite thing about Shield of Virtue, Jim?
The fact that this card, I think, is so undervalued. I don't think that we see it enough being played, and it's just when it's played and it's used against you properly, the card is very annoying. Very super annoying,
especially if you're not running any item removal. Right.
It's roughly the same thing that Amethyst is able to do with the bounce package, because you just protect your stuff. It's always going to be unexerted and just ready to go, and the only way you get rid of it is if you're able to target removal it or have them sacrifice it with Lady Tremaine. So it's just like with this, it's an item, so it doesn't have to worry about the creature removal. If they have item removal, which seems like there's a lot less of in comparison to I'm going to deal 2 damage to something.
If you're running into the competitive scene, you're 100% people are going to tech in item removal. But if you're just if you're playing more casually, most of the time, in my experience and the way I typically build decks in a casual environment, is I'm building my deck to do a thing. Right? I'm not teching in for certain matchups or certain cards. I'm building a deck to do a thing. And you hopefully have seen that thus far, and you'll see it when we're done. Like we're just trying to do a thing. We're trying to build an engine and run it and then have it go off. And not worry about what.
And if they do have item removal, off chance they have item removal and they utilize it on this, you still got your weight set.
You do. Yeah.
You got your weight set. Keep drawing cards.
Keep drawing cards, which hopefully they didn't remove that one.
Yeah.
All right, so we're running 2 of Shield of Virtues, but we're also running 2 of LeFou Instigator. I forgot to mention about the shield. It's only 11 cents, so very, very cheap card. But 2 of LeFou Instigator. Inkable 2-drop 2/2/1 with his ability Fan the Flames. 50 cents, so a little bit more expensive, but with 2 LeFous, it's essentially the same thing as a shield for either, again, challenging and removal or for protection. The great thing about the shield is it's repeatable, and LeFou is just a one-off, right? Unless you're able to bounce him, but we're not an Amethyst in this build in particular. So, Jim, curious what's your take on, since we've got 4, you think 4 total is a good number for this list?
I think it's good.
Because we got that 2-2 split. I like the 2-2 split.
Usually I can see anywhere from effects like this between 4 and 6. I think 4 and 6 is a really good number. The LeFou doesn't really do anything with the weight set, so bringing the whole package down to 2 with the protection from the shield as well, I think, or down to 4, is perfectly acceptable, especially since we're trying to build into the weight set plan.
All right, so that's the options for protection and helping you control the board. Now let's talk about the Aladdin package. Since we're in Ruby, let's touch on Aladdin. So first off, it's Aladdin Street Rat Inkable 3-drop 2/2/1 with his improvise ability. When you play this character, each opponent loses 1 lore. In my opinion, we need so many more effects like this, right? Especially to combat aggro strategies. But anything that helps control your opponent's lore is great. And so far, we're seeing it more of in Ruby and also in Emerald. I'm excited to build more Emerald lists as well. But for now, I love the Aladdin package because this helps us play into what we're trying to do. So this is necessary. Again, Aladdin's only 5 cents, running 3 of. Super cheap, but this is a perfect shift target for the Big Daddy, Aladdin Heroic Outlaw. So I think this is the first super rare we're talking about, but he's only 65 cents. So in the starter decks from set 1, a great card. Not played enough, in my opinion. Jim, I think, wasn't this one of your favorite cards from set 1?
When I saw it, I was like, oh, man. And they were also using it in the Ruby Amethyst list
initially.
When set 1 was the only set we had. But then it just slowly came out because there's a lot of really good cards
There's a lot.
And being able to control your opponent's lore is really strong.
I love everything about this card. I love the artwork. I love the ability. I love everything. And I love the fact that it's only 65 cents. It's so cheap, right? And we have a bunch of copies of this because it's such a cool card. It's an Inkable 7-drop 5/5/2. But again, if you shift him out, he's got shift 5. You're able to shift him out. Ooh, man, I can go attacking with his Daring Exploit ability. When this character challenges and banishes another character in a challenge, gain 2 lore. Each opponent loses 2 lore. Great for multiplayer, but again, helping you control the board, kind of what we were just talking about, and then pairing him with LeFou or the shield is great to just drop. I mean, that's an 8 lore swing if you're able to take out 2 of your opponent's cards. Very, very great card. And like I said, my favorite thing about this is it's so cheap.
Just be careful if you're playing in multiplayer with this card, because even the ones you don't attack are going to be losing lore, and they're going to be mad.
They're going to attack you.
They're going to be mad.
Just be careful. But I love this card. All right, so that's the Aladdin package. Now, a package that I love as well, and we don't see enough of in the competitive meta, in my opinion. It's the Queen of Hearts. Sensing Weakness package. So she's an Inkable 5 cost. 4/3/1 with shift 2. Shift 2. Those are my favorite Floodborn cards with that super cheap shift ability. She has the ability of my favorite things about this card. Let the games begin. When one of your characters challenges another character, you may draw a card. So we've got the card draw off of Weight Set. Now we have card draw off of Queen of Hearts. Another card I initially had in the list but took out with Shere Khan because I think that's just fundamentally a different style of deck. I had him in here originally, and he didn't really do much because he just sat there. Yeah, it helped gain me lore, but I think it was just a fundamentally different deck. And it's a deck I still want to explore. Its idea I still want to explore, but I just didn't really think fit into this style. So just look. I mean, again, who doesn't like drawing cards? This is not one of your. You really like this card from set 2, right?
yeah, Queen of Hearts. I loved it.
Yeah. So we're running the full play set, and again, only right around a quarter. So she's 27 cents, which is phenomenal. So because we're running this Queen of Hearts, we're also running this Queen of Hearts. It is Queen of Hearts Inspiring Ruler.
It's a good Queen of Hearts.
It's just another good one. It's an Inkable 2-drop 2/2/1 with Rush. I mean, it's just anything with rush is great, right? So again, I can use this. Like I can drop her on turn 2 and then shift onto her on turn 3, or play her on turn 2, wait set turn 3, and then shift onto her on turn 4, pay 1, draw, and then maybe challenge and then draw again. There's a lot of good lines here. But Queen of Hearts, again, pretty cheap, right around a quarter, running 3 of. I just decided to cut one just to get stuff fitting, but definitely had to run 4 of the other ones.
And just a random scenario definitely didn't happen here on the channel. So let's say your opponent had like a Cinderella, right? And they're
right.
like, oh, I'm fine. Nah, Queen of Hearts coming down, rush.
Yeah. And I don't remember if it was that game or a different one, but you had this Queen of Hearts out. I took care of it, and then the next turn you inked the Queen of Hearts Sensing Weakness. I'm like, oh my goodness, thank goodness.
Yep, true.
So I love the Queen of Hearts package in pretty much anything that runs Ruby, but it works very, very well in this list. All right, now let's touch on the removal suite. First off, Dragonfire, running 3 Dragonfires. You don't see this a lot in competitive meta. It's uninkable. It's 5. It's only 13 cents, running 3. It's an action, banish chosen character. Jim, you love this card.
Extremely good. I love it.
But why don't we see more of it, Jim? Why don't we see a lot of this?
Because board control and board presence is just very important, and there are other cards that can do this effect, pretty much do the effect, while having a body out on board, and get more than just a 1-for-1.
Right, 100%. Yeah, so that's why you don't see it a lot, but good thing for us, it's cheap.
It's cheap.
It's only 13 cents. So pick up a bunch, add it to your collection. But let's be honest, you probably have this in your collection anyway. It's an uncommon as well. So running 3 Dragonfires. The next, it's Let the Storm Rage On. Probably one of my favorite songs from the second set.
The cold never bothered me anyway.
Correct. It doesn't bother me either. But love this card. It's an uninkable 3-drop. Deal 2 damage and draw a card. I mean, what's not to like about this?
Yeah.
So running 4 of, you need the card draw, and it's only 28 cents. So what's not?
I know what to not like about this card. It doesn't deal 3 damage when you need it to deal 3 damage.
True.
That's what it does.
But you want to talk about 3 damage? Speaking of dealing 3 damage, we're also running a full play set of Smash. So Smash, it's inkable, it costs 3, 28 cents, which that's a little more expensive than I would think from an uncommon from set 1. But again, let's be honest, you probably have these in your collection. Hopefully you have in your collection. If not, pick up 4 for $1. All right, so it's an uncommon. You want to deal 3 damage, you play Smash.
Guys, 3 is such a very important number.
It is.
It's so good. Play Smash.
It is. And hopefully we just get more cards that deal at least 3 damage. But this next card does not deal 3 damage, but it spreads it out. And
That's kind of better.
It's kind of better. It is Grab Your Sword. So we're running 2 Grab Your Swords. It's an uninkable 5-cost song. Running 2, it's a rare. Deal 2 damage each opposing character. And it's $3.45. So
good card.
It's good. Another one I'd probably run more of, but
if you have more, play them.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is finding it. The hard thing with building decks is always finding the balance between how many copies of a card do you run. So feel free to play with the numbers as best as you can. Again, like I touched on earlier, Mulan Hero in Training is another great card that you can always take a look at. One that I had thought about running, but I just wanted to run Maui because Maui's such a good card. So with that being said, that's all of the cards. We're gonna kick it to you. What do you guys think? But also, again, this is a deck that I built. Jim, what do you think about this deck in particular?
It seems a lot of fun, and I don't know if I'd want to go up against it.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. I've done a little bit of testing on Pixelborn. It's fun, but again, the thing with any online card game, any digital card game that has a ranked ladder, you're gonna run against the same cards, against the same decks a lot of the time. Okay, and that's why in my In my opinion, Jim, I'm pretty sure your opinion is the same on this, but card games need casual formats and different formats and different ways to play the game.
Yeah, 100%.
And again, I'm sure if you go to League, you go to your local, you're playing up against somebody who's playing Ruby, you're going to see Be Prepared. You're going to see the same cards. I try to say, let's not put those cards in these lists.
Honestly, after learning a very strange statistic from a completely different card game,
Yes.
I was kind of like, wow.
Yes.
Wow. It kind of really changed my whole mindset on a lot of stuff.
And so a lot of these decks that we're going to be building, like this one on the channel, great decks to just build, have for home, and then you can just play them on your kitchen table at home. And there's a lot of great ideas, and I'm excited to continue exploring other ideas and bringing those on the channel and showcasing them. That way you all can build these decks as well. So that being said, again, I want to know, what do you guys think? What do we have in this deck that you like, maybe you don't like? What changes you would make? Leave us a comment down below. Let us know. And don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on bell notifications so you can be notified when we release more Disney Lorcana content in the future. Well, that's it for us. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us today. Jim, thanks for being here talking about this deck. And we'll see you in the next Disney Lorcana video. See you, everybody.
Take care.